Congratulations. 73 games.
In the playoffs.
It took 73 games to lock up a playoff spot, but they did it. No reason to be snarky about anything today. This was, dare we say, an inspired effort. After that first half, okay, raise your hand if you thought after the first half you felt good about what was going on. Bobby.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay, buddy.
All right, so
he always feels good about what's going on.
He always feels good. All right,
if you just listen to Bobby, the Celtics were 62-10 this year.
John,
here's what was worrisome, and you can tell me why you felt great, but Celtics looked like they were struggling to get any flow going on offense, and the second their bench went in the game, did you just put a comment of yourself up?
This is.
I thought you did that, John.
No, I'll put this one up for Bobby.
This is the only comment I'm putting up all night.
Bobby is great. I put that one up.
Oh, okay.
No. So
yo, can I get some love? Jeez, I must have been right about something.
No, for real.
No, I probably wasn't.
They weren't playing great. Westbrook and Beal hadn't really taken off. It felt bad, and then the third quarter happened, and then boom, lights out, unreal. And then Rob goes down 10 seconds into the third, and you're like, yeah. Rob goes down end of the half. It didn't look – they weren't playing great. I didn't feel good about the second half at all. And then he goes down, and you're like, okay. And then bang.
Well, I was mildly concerned when Rob went down in that second quarter late because you knew there was no turning back from that. He gave it the shot, but he was done just with the pain and everything else. And it was the turf toe again, which I don't think we knew what it was right at the time, but that looked like it was going to be deadly because he was playing great in that first quarter, connecting the offense, making all the little plays. You weren't sure what Thompson was going to give them, but to his credit, brilliant second half. And this is what he's been talking about all year. Like once the playoff comes, it really starts. And he brought probably his best game of the season tonight, I thought, in that second half in particular. So I was mildly concerned after the second. Thompson. He was everywhere.
He had a good game. Yeah, he had a good game. He was
all over the boards.
Definitely.
I thought he inflicted a bunch of foul trouble with the way guys weren't able to box him out. Dish some balls out for some shots. I thought he was just great energy inside. He never stopped going downhill at the rim on numerous plays in that second half. So he filled in great for Rob. But to answer your question, I just never felt, for two reasons, Beal's health, and give him credit. I thought he went out there and really played tough and gritted through it, but you could see it was bothering him all night, and he couldn't guard Tatum, which is what they really lost in him being slowed. But also, Washington just never struck me. I know they finished the year great, but they're not a defensive team. And this time of year, you really need to pile up stops, and they never came close to doing that.
In that third quarter, I think they gave up on defense. That was when the Celtics went on that run right out of the gates, and they kind of took control of the game right out of that third quarter there. And watching Tatum, watching Kemba, those guys were fired up. I mean, I said it on Twitter. They looked more fired up than I've seen them all season going into that timeout.
You could see it with Tatum. Where you knew Tatum was locked in this game, he was super engaged defensely.
He was locked on.
Even the offense, obviously he had that killer instinct thing going, and he took it upon himself to do what he did, and he put up another 50 piece. So I mean, they needed it, obviously, but defensively you could see he was engaged early. That's a big deal. That made a difference. But you're right, Washington was dog shit all game long. I mean, just dreadful. You know me, I'm not a Westbrook guy, and I never have been. He was
outcoached too badly.
He was awful. But look at, we kill Brad. We felt he was experimenting a little bit. I didn't understand Semi 8 minutes early. Jimmy didn't understand why Romeo at all. I
didn't think he played poorly, though. I just was surprised.
No, he actually had a pretty good game, but it's surprised to see him. There's just a couple things. But then you look at the Wizards, they started 3 guys who played under 20 minutes, and they had 3 guys on the bench who played over 20 minutes. And again, it's not all a matter of who starts or who whatever, but it is just interesting, just how this game had, played out for them. Westbrook had a terrible game. Celtics were also helped out that Bertans, who played 33 minutes, was freaking dreadful.
He had an awful season. Yeah.
Oh my God. And that's a guy like the Celtics. I remember we were like, oh, need to get that guy for Boston if you can. He
I
was,
thought, yeah.
Neesmith gave him the whack to the neck and it was over.
yeah, little freaking,
I'll tell you what, it looked like a welt. I mean, I don't know what Neesmith did to the guy, but it looked like he had a fun night.
Neesmith's the enforcer.
but it was concerning. Tatum started out a little cold, in that first half. Fournier couldn't hit anything.
No, the second was
not
scary,
a good
John.
start.
The
second
second
period,
quarter
you
was
were like,
scary, yeah.
uh-oh. And it looked like, I'm not, there was one writer, I think it was Tomasi or something, tweeted something I thought was funny. It's like, the Celtics did look like they flipped a switch, but it was one of those switches in your house where nothing goes on when you flip it. Like, it's kind of like what happened.
Crap.
Like, they flipped it and they were like, here we go. And then like nothing was happening. And that's what the second felt like. It was kind of like, we are giving it our all, but our all is very limited.
You saw some dejection.
And that was worrisome. I was like, they're giving it their best shot. They're just undermanned. And then Smart friggin' looked like he got shot in the leg. And then Rob goes down, twisted up. I was just like, that. Everything seemed bad. And then bang, just blew up.
And then on top of it, when the Wizards were hanging in there with the Celtics, it wasn't like Beal and Westbrook were going off. I mean, we actually were kind of waiting for that to happen, and it never really quite did. And we know Beal was banged up, and Westbrook just had one of his games. But, the Wizards they tied things up. They even took a lead there in the second quarter, and it was like Ish Smith. It was like, oh, great. Like, one of these random dudes on the other team is going to go off in the Celtics tonight, and this is going to be the story of the game. And that's why I was concerned. I was like, well, the Wizards are hanging around here, and their stars haven't even really got hot. I mean, Bertans was another guy that you were kind of wondering if he was going to hit a shot. He never did. Their three-point shooting was absolutely atrocious tonight. I think I saw, like, midway through the third quarter, they were, like, 1 for 14 or something like that. I think it showed on TV. So, I mean, that was the difference I think it was the biggest difference in this game was just first of all, horrible defense by the Wizards, but they couldn't hit an outside shot for the life of them. And the Celtics, credit to Tatum, credit to Kemba, they were the only two guys really for the majority of this game that sort of paced the Celtics on offense. And, they needed every single one of Tatum's points tonight. And he made that 50. Look, that was one of those 50s that just looked kind of easy. It wasn't like he was laboring over it. I mean,
he did put up 32 shots.
I know, but for some reason, it just felt like some of the shots he was hitting were kind of going down. I mean, he went to the line a lot.
17 free throws. I mean, a lot of it was it was aggressive Tatum,
Yeah, right.
There wasn't a ton of settling. Like, yes, it was a little bit dribbly and a little bit, me ball, but it had to be,
He needed to do what he exactly. It had to be. He was like, listen, like, I got to score 50 tonight.
I know this is my job and this is what it's going to take. And so be it. It's not the most efficient 50. I mean, he jacked 30, but I mean, again, 17 free throws, like he was going downhill and he was getting there. And it was outstanding. It was, it was laser focused Tatum.
And that's tonight. When you have a downer, but this is not a recipe it's not a recipe that's going to last.
No,
forever, and it's going to get him wins over teams like this for sure.
We know it's coming, but they did their job. They got by the team they had to get by here, and now it's just kind of gravy from here. Like, if you can get a win against Brooklyn, it's fine. But again, like I said, these teams were all worse than them. You saw the separation here, and I don't think Indiana or Charlotte really would have done that much against Boston either. But I was surprised Westbrook never had that punch in him. He was so brilliant to end the year. He was ripping games out of other teams' hands. I know he had a brilliant rebounding night tonight, but really all his scoring came on those putbacks. He never hit shots, 0-4 from 3. He never threatened the defense all that much. Yeah, he was really awful. Yeah. And he had a lot of bad games against the Celtics this year. And at that time, you chalked it up to his injury and stuff and him recovering from it. But again, tonight, I don't know if it's Smart. Smart has kind of had his number this year. Their defense as a whole keying in on him, but he was awful, as you said, John.
3 for 21 from 3 as a team. I mean, 3 3-pointers in today's NBA is really, really hard to do.
He had 5 assists, too. I didn't even feel like he impacted the game that much with his passing.
Russ?
Yeah.
No, he had 1 putback dunk. That's really the only thing I remember.
No, I mean, and honestly, like, he was fortunate to get what he got, too, because couple really ticky-tack foul calls as well, where it was just kind of like, I don't know, Russ was going really fast and he lost the ball. He lost the ball, so I guess I'll blow the whistle. Fournier once, I think, and Neesmith another time, they were like, I mean, Like,
Yeah, Celtics got the better whistle today though. 5 on Westbrook, 5 on like they were going
did, but
all
those
in
were all
game.
legit. I mean, one Westbrook
Yeah.
was complaining about, he literally just, shoved Kemba in the chest. So I mean, he's it's an out of control player. He runs into people. I'm surprised he doesn't get called for 3 charges a game.
They don't guard well, and they're not great coached. I think that run at the end of the year was Westbrook catching fire. You have a great player in Beal who was locked in, and when he got hurt, this team wasn't going anywhere.
Good stuff from their bench.
Yeah, they made a few nice deadline additions, but Bertans had an awful year. Lopez did some nice things even tonight. You see a few good hook shots from him. But again, I look up and down this team. You look up and down this team, and half the guys you're like, who is this? And they're really just a two-man show. Ish Smith got a little scary there at points, but he ended up becoming a detriment by the end of the game. He was just so easy to go at in that third quarter. They were lighting him up. Yeah. Tatum, Kemba, all these guys could go right at him. And I have a friend who's a huge Westbrook fan. Obviously goes back to those Scott Brooks days in Oklahoma City, and he's been saying since then, Scott Brooks is just such a detriment. And, I didn't love him as a coach in Oklahoma City. They obviously never really won anything there. And he hasn't done a great job in Washington to what I can see. So give it to Brad. Give it to the Celtics. They got the job done. I don't know what they're going to do in Brooklyn.